No matter what you think, about yourself, Paul says, pray. Pray in the Spirit. At all times, in every prayer and supplication. And in verse 19, he goes on and he says it again, pray also for me. We got to pray for each morning when we get up. We got to pray. You got to pray not only for yourself, you got to pray for the people around you. You got to pray and say, God, get me ready. Get these people around my life ready. You know, I've got 2 daughters, 19 and 17. And I go, oh my gosh. God. Anoint them. Anoint them. Smack them around with your Spirit. You got to pray for the people around you so that they make the right decisions of that day. And I really believe that when we can begin to choose God and say, I choose you, I love you, I want to give you all of my heart today. I want to follow you today. I want to do the things that you want to do today. I believe it is at that point we can begin to understand what God means for us to live well. Because we've got this illusion, this confusion. You know, when we go to the next slide and we see this picture, a lot of times Christians are we're disappointed. Do we have the next slide? Let's see, maybe we don't. I don't know. Okay, there we go. We're confused. We think, all of this is good life. And when we don't get it, even as Christians, we become bitter with God. We become bitter with life. We become bitter with church. Why don't I have these things if I'm being so faithful? It's because we don't understand well enough when God says, I want you to live well. Instead of focusing on finding someone to love, when we put on everything, you'll be able to focus on loving the Lord your God. With all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength. And when you put on and make decisions, the right decisions to choose God in the morning, instead of identifying yourself as the world wants you to identify yourself, you'll begin to hear God's voice who says, you are my child, my friend, my disciple, my ambassador. That's who you are. When we choose God, instead of just looking for a nice ride, we will begin to choose to carry the cross. To carry the cross with Christ. When we make right decisions in the morning, instead of planning beach vacations, we'll begin thinking about how we can go to the ends of the earth and make disciples of all nations. That's what our people are going to be doing today, and we're going to be laying hands on them. Instead of wanting big houses, that we can begin to think about no matter where we are. Begin to be able to say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Instead of wanting worldly riches and piling stuff up here, we'll begin to understand that what we need to do is store up treasures in heaven. That's living well. That's what God has planned for you. And I pray, some of you guys are thinking, oh, that sucks. No, it doesn't suck. It's just that when we begin focusing on God, when we begin focusing on God's kingdom, and not on all this other junk, you know what happens? The burden of our hearts are gone. We are released from the chains that hold us hostage, that make us want all this stuff. Right? And it's not that we're not going to have this stuff. Because listen to what God says, that when we give our heart to God, that when we choose to live with Him each day, Jesus says, you know what? Strive for the kingdom, and all of these things will be given to you as well. You're going to have them. They're just not going to be as important to you anymore. Because what's going to be important to you is God. What's going to be important in your life is His kingdom. What's going to be important what you're going to be looking forward to and be hungry about is going out and talking about Jesus Christ, sharing Jesus Christ to the world. Amen?